All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we have the third installation of our Scientific Miracles in the Quran series by Dr. Manea Hussein al-Hazmi from Rensselaer University. As we briefed before, if you haven't watched the first and the second the seminar series, they're available on YouTube under Rensselaer MSA channel. So.
جزاك الله خير. الله reward you. Yes. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, praise be to Allah, peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad and his companions and his family and his companions, inshallah. I welcome all of you to my lecture under the title Scientific Miracles in the Quran. This is the third lecture related to scientific miracles in the Quran, and I hope that you'll be able to see the first lecture because it has a very important introduction related to the subject. So for tonight, I'm going to deal with the Quran on human. The Quran on human. I will deal with the Quran on human creation. Human creation. Allah, the Most High, said in the Holy Quran, هو الذي يصوركم في الأرحام كيف يشاء لا إله إلا هو العزيز الحكيم. The corresponding meaning of this verse is, it is who shapes you in the wombs as he pleases. There is no God but he, the exalted in might, the wise. This is from the Quran, chapter 3, verse number 6. Therefore, I am going to present to you some verses of the Quran that deal with human development in the womb of the mother, according to the Quran. But before that, I have to go through the history of human embryology in order to know the history of this matter. The human embryology is started with Aristotle. Aristotle thought that human embryo developed from formless mass that is resulted from the union of the semen with the menstrual blood. So this is what Aristotle said about human development. Of course, it was a mistake. That was not the truth about that. And long time after Aristotle, nothing happened in this subject. No discovery related to the human embryology until the 18th century. Until the 18th century, of course, at the beginning of 18th century, researchers, of course, believed in the pre-formation theory. And the pre-formation theory stated that man is created in the full shape from the beginning. That was a mistake also. That was a mistake. Okay. In the beginning of the 18th century, in 1701, the microscope was discovered. The microscope was discovered. Therefore, they were able to what? To discover the human sperm. So this is the first step toward human embryology. After the discovery of human sperm, the researchers mistakenly also that the human is created, or man is created in his full shape in the sperm. And this is a picture for their thinking. For their thinking, they thought that human or man is created in his full shape from the beginning inside what? Inside the sperm. That was also a mistake, actually. And then after that, in 1827, they discovered the woman's ovum. Okay? The woman's ovum. And also, researchers mistakenly thought that man was created in his full shape in what? In the woman's ovum, and the man's sperm has no role in this development. Okay. And what after that, in 1775, Spallanzani, I mean, this is a scientist, he proved the importance of both the sperm and the ovum, the woman's ovum, and that was the real start of human embryology, that both man's sperm and woman's ovum are involved in what? In human development. Okay, so this is the history of what? Of human embryology. Now we come to the Qur'an to see what the Qur'an says about human development. There are 3 verses in the Holy Quran describing the whole process of human development inside the womb of the mother. Just only 3 verses. Allah the Almighty said, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا ثُمَّ أَنشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. The corresponding meaning of these verses is this: we created man from an extract of clay. Then we made him as a nutfah in a place of settlement, firmly fixed. Then we made the nutfah into alaqa. Then we made the alaqa into a mudghah. Then we made out of the mudghah bones and clothed the bones with flesh. Then we developed out of it another creation. So blessed be Allah, the best to create. This is the Quran, chapter 23, verses 12 to 14. You see, only in 3 verses, 12, 13, 14 of chapter 23, describing the whole process of human development inside the mother's, inside the womb of the mother. Okay, now let us go step by step, describing the information in these 3 verses about the human development. It starts with what? It starts with nutfah. You say, of course, the Quran tells us that the first human being, he was Adam. He was created out of what? From what? From an extract of clay. From an extract of clay. And then we are talking about what? About the process of human embryo development in the womb of the mother. The first stage is, then we made the nutfah. This is the nutfah, it's in red color. This is the first stage of what? Of human embryo. Okay, what does nutfah mean? What does nutfah mean? Nutfah in Arabic, it's an Arabic term. It means a drop. It means a drop. Okay, the nutfah has two meanings. Or there are two types of nutfah. There are two types of nutfah. The first nutfah is the man fluid sperm. The man fluid sperm. This is the first thing about the nutfah. About the nutfah. So, what is the information related to this nutfah? That's coming from man. This is the first type of nutfah is coming from man. It's the sperm, the fluid drop sperm. Fluid drop sperm. Okay. The Quran stated clearly about this nutfah. Allah the Most High said, وَأَنَّهُ خَلَقَ الزَّوْجَيْنِ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ إِذَا تُمْنَى. That he created the pairs, male and female, from a fluid drop sperm as it is emitted. It is in the Quran, chapter 53, verses 45 to 46. What does this verses tell us? These verses tell us that man determines the gender of the baby. Man determines the gender of the baby. How? The science will tell us how. To what? To confirm what the Quran told us. The modern science confirms this. What does the modern science tell us about the gender? Okay. You know, man's sperm has 23 chromosomes. 23 chromosomes. And woman ovum has 23 chromosomes. So when they join together, then we have 46 chromosomes. Okay. The 23 chromosomes in the sperm, the man's sperm, okay, one of these chromosomes determine the type or determine the gender of the baby. So some chromosomes from the 23, okay, some sperms have the Y-type chromosomes. The Y-type chromosome, which is responsible about the male. So, if it's Y chromosome, then the result is a baby, a male. But if the chromosome is type X chromosome, then the baby is what? Is female. The baby is female. So this is what the science told us about the responsibility of the man sperm in determining the gender of the baby, as the Quran stated. Is here. He created the pairs, male and female, from a fluid drop sperm as it is emitted. So there is what? There is agreement between the Quran and the modern science. Now, come down to what? To another aspect related the drop, the nutfah. The Quran tells that man is created from a part of man's fluid. What does that mean? It means that the man's fluid, not all of them are responsible in what? In the human development, the embryo development. Okay. What does the Quran tell us? The Quran tells us this. Allah the Almighty said in the Holy Quran, الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين ثم جعل نسله من سلالة من ماء مهين. So the corresponding meaning of this verse is this. It is who created all things in the best way and began the creation of man from clay and made his progeny from an extract of despised fluid, sulala. despite fluid. What does silala mean? Or what does this verse or these verses tell us from chapter 32, verses 7 to 8? These verses tell that man is created from what? From a part of man's fluid. Not all of them participate in what? In human creation. Okay. Now, this is the Quran. The Quran tells us that not all sperms are involved in what? In human creation. Come down to the science. The science also tell us, the science tells us that man is created from a part of man's fluid. How? Only one sperm, not all of them, fertilizes the ovum. Okay. Of course, you know, semen of human that enter through the vagina, okay, and reach what? You reach the uterus, millions of them, millions, but only one of those sperms fertilizes the ovum. That's it. Once it fertilizes the ovum, then the other sperms are prevented to enter. That's it. Okay. This is what the Quran told us, and this is what the science told us. Okay. Now, this is the first meaning of nutfah. The first meaning of nutfah is a fluid drop. A fluid drop. The second meaning of nutfah is nutfah amshaj. And the Quran tells us about the nutfah amshaj. What is the nutfah? The nutfah amshaj. Allah, the Most High said in the Quran, إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتلي فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا. The corresponding of this verse, verily we created man from a mingled fluid drop, meaning nutfah amshaj, in order to try him, so we gave him the gifts of hearing and sight. This is from Quran chapter 76, verse number 2. Okay, this verse tells us that nutfah amshaj means mingled fluid drop, which is a mixture of male and female structure. Okay, so the first nutfah is the sperm man, and the second type of nutfah is the amshaj, the mixed one, which means that both male and female are there. I mean, after fertilization, we have the zygote that contains what? The man and the woman. Okay, so this is what the Quran told us, and this is what the science tell us about the nutfah amshaj. The nutfah amshaj means the zygote, and you know the zygote, and the zygote in modern science develops after what? When the sperm fertilizes the ovum. And this is a picture of what about that. You see in this picture, this is the ovum, and these are the sperms. Okay, one of them will fertilize what? The ovum. Okay, the ovum. So after the sperm fertilizes the ovum, then we have the zygote in this picture. The zygote start to divide within hours, okay, and to give us, I mean, well, a lot of new cells that are the start of human embryo inside the uterus. Okay, now the Quran tells that the uterus is a safe place in the same 3 verses that I presented to you. You see, ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين. The first one is ثم جعلناه نطفة. Then في قرار مكين. The Most High said, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. I am going to explain this word في قرار مكين. What does قرار مكين mean? Then we made him as a nutfa in a place of settlement firmly fixed. In a place of settlement firmly fixed. I would like to go through to explain to you what does that mean. These verses tell that the uterus is a safe place, This is what the Quran tells us. Now come down to the science. What does the science tell us about the safe place in which the human embryo developed? The modern science proved to us that the uterus is in a safe place. Why it is in the safe place? Because it is located in the woman's pelvis, And in the woman pelvis, there are a lot of ligaments and fascia that hold the uterus without any movement, sudden movement from the sides of the uterus. Therefore, the uterus is firmly fixed in the what? In the pelvis. That's the first thing. The second thing, the muscles of the pelvis also. The muscle of the pelvis also fix the uterus in situ. Okay. Third, the uterus itself, there is a secretion, a hormone that is secreted from what? In the uterus. We call it the pregnancy hormone. This hormone helps stabilize the uterus and slow down the contractions. Okay. And also, the embryo in the uterus is surrounded with what? With different membranes. These membranes produce what? Amniotic fluid that allow the embryo to swim inside the uterus without any problem. It means it protects the embryo from the effect of external traumas. This is what the science tells us, that the human embryo inside the uterus is in a safe place. Exactly. So this is what the science proved to us, that the Quran is true. In describing the embryo is in a safe place. Okay. Now we come to the next stage. The first stage was what? Was the nutfa. Then ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة. What does علقة mean? Say, then we made the drop into an علقة. This is the second stage of human embryo development. The second stage, it is called علقة. And this is Arabic term. So what does علقة mean? Literally, in Arabic, علقة has three meanings. The first one is a leech. The second one is a suspending thing. The third one is blood clot. And these three meanings hold true, explaining the علقة as the Quran described it. Okay, so let's go to the science. What does the science tell us about the stage of علقة? A human embryo at the علقة stage looks like, in its appearance, to a leech. And this is, you see, this is a figure about, this is human embryo. You look, this is human embryo at the stage of علقة. And this is a leech. Don't they look like each other? Exactly. And this is, it's not coming from any source. This is coming from a great book. Okay. Its name is The Developing Human, authored by Moore and Bersaud, 5th edition, page number 73. These two professors, okay, compared the human embryo The human embryo to what? To the three meanings of alaqa. Because these verses were presented to these two professors in order to what? In order to go through them and to tell us what the science tells us about this. This is the first meaning. The first meaning is a leech. The second meaning is the human embryo at the stage of alaqa is a suspension in the uterus of the mother. This is a diagram for the embryo inside the uterus. It is as a suspension. And this is a real photo of the, this be a real photo for the embryo inside the what? Inside the uterus. It is a suspension inside what? Inside us. The third, similarly, this diagram is coming from the great book under the title, The Developing Human More and by More and Bersaud, fifth edition, page number 66. That's the third meaning. The third meaning of alaqa is what? Is a blood clot. A blood clot. Human embryo at the alaqa stage looks like a blood clot. Here, this is the embryo. This is the embryo at the stage of what? Of alaqa. It just only, it's similar to a blood clot due to the presence of huge amounts of blood in the what? In the embryo. So the three meanings, the three meanings are true. Leech, suspension, and what? And blood clot, like the Quran stated. Exactly. Okay, so now we come down to the next stage. The next stage is a mudghah. Is what? Is a mudghah. And what does the mudghah mean? The mudghah, then we made the mudghah into, then we made the alaqa into what? Into a mudghah. And what does a mudghah mean? A mudghah. Mudghah means showed substance. Showed substance. This is the Arabic word of mudghah. Is what it means, a showed substance. Okay, this is what the Quran tells us. The mudghah stage in the modern science, of course, human embryo at the stage of mudghah is exactly similar in its appearance to the showed substance. And this is what? This is the real embryo at the stage of mudghah. At the stage of mudghah, okay? It's just only 28 days. It is only 28 days at the stage of mudghah. And you look at the comparison between the embryo at the stage of mudghah with what? With the showed gum. With the showed gum. This is the embryo, and this is what? And this is the showed gum. And you look at the teeth marks in the showed gum, they look similar to the somites in the back, the somite in the back of the embryo, exactly like the showed gum, as the Quran told us. And also, this is from the great book by Moore and Bersaud under the title, The Developing Human, 5th edition, page 79. Okay, let's go to a witness from the scientists. This is Keith L. Moore. Keith L. Moore is a great professor. He's a great in the Department of Anatomy and Cell Biology, University of Toronto. Of course, this professor had the chance to go to a conference in Cairo. That conference was held in Cairo to deal with scientific miracles in the Quran. Okay, and he was presented with these verses from the Quran related to human development. Then, what did he say? he said great thing about this. He said, for the past 3 years, I have worked with Embryology Committee of King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, helping them to interpret the many statements in the Quran and Sunnah referring to human reproduction and perinatal development. At first, I was astonished by the accuracy of the statement that we recorded in the 7th century AD, before the science of embryology was established. Although I was aware of the glorious history of Muslim scientists in the 10th century AD and some of their contribution to medicine, I know nothing about the religious facts and beliefs contained in the Quran and Sunnah. At the conference in Cairo, he gave this statement. It has been a great pleasure for me to help clarify statements in the Quran about human development. It is clear to me that these statements must have come to Muhammad from God or Allah, because most of this knowledge was not discovered until many centuries later. This proves to me that Muhammad must have been a messenger of God or Allah. Professor Moore also stated that because the staging of human embryo is complex owing to the continuous process of change during development, it is proposed that any system of classification could be developed using the terms mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah. The proposed system is simple, comprehensive, and confirms with present embryological knowledge. The intensive studies of the Quran and Hadith in the last 4 years have revealed a system of classifying human embryos that is amazing, since it was recorded in the 7th century AD. The descriptions in the Quran cannot be based on scientific knowledge in the 7th century. What does that mean? It means that the Quran is the literal word of Allah, who knows the single detail in this universe and who knows what is going inside the uterus of the mother, because he is the all-knower. He is the creator. Now, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us about when the human embryo changed into human form. Before that, before a certain period after the fertilization of the ovum and the development of the zygote, the human shape is not there. It's not there. But after a certain day, after certain days, the embryo starts to look like human form. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us about that date. Okay. He said, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, when 42 nights have passed over the drop, Allah sends an angel to it, who shapes it and makes its ears, eyes, skin, flesh, and bones. Then he says, "Oh Lord, is it male or female?" And your Lord decides what he wishes, and the angel records it. This is what the Prophet Muhammad told us about the changing of the human embryo form into human form. Okay. So the science, the modern science, tells us about the timetable of that changing into the human form. Before the 40s of the 20th century, there was nothing about this to determine when the human embryo changed from non-human form to human form. But after the discovery of sophisticated instruments with cameras, they can insert camera into the uterus, okay, and watch the development of the embryo stage by stage. And then they gave us this result. You see here, this is the human embryo. 28 days as a mutqa, okay, 32, 33, 37, 41, here. There is nothing human form, nothing. It does not look like human at all, okay. But at 44 days, It looks like human. Now he has the human form. Between 41 and 44, it is the time that the Prophet Muhammad told us after 42 nights. After 42 nights. Okay. Now, there is a close picture here. You see, this is the human embryo at the 41 days, and this is at 44 days. You see here, just nothing. There is nothing. But here, it is human form. So the Prophet Muhammad told us about that, about the timetable of changing of the embryo from a non-human form to human form. So you see, it's just only a tiny, very small hair. Okay. Now, another witness from the scientist, he is Joe Sampson. He's a professor and chairman of the Department of Gynecology, okay, from the Baylor College of Medicine, Houston, Texas, USA. He was asked about the verses of the Quran describing describe the human embryo development, and he gave this statement: by the end of the 6th week, before the 42nd day, the image of the face is not clear and does not look like the image of a human face. Before the 42, before the 42 days, nothing like human shape. Okay. He said also, the eyes, ears, and genitals are in their primitive form in their developmental stage before the 42nd day. They don't function and don't resemble the human organs. Okay. Samson added, so that the two hadith saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that have been noted, provide us with specific timetable for the main embryological development before 40 days. These hadiths could not have been obtained on the basis of the scientific knowledge that was available at the time of their writing, meaning at the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It follows, I think, that not only there is no conflict between genetics, religion, but in fact, religion can guide science by adding revelation to some of the traditional scientific approaches, that there exist statements in the Quran shown centuries later to be valid, which support the knowledge in the Quran having been derived from what? From God. This is a clear witness about this. Another scientist, his name is Professor T.V. Persaud. He's a professor. He's a professor and the author of many books. Okay, and these verses were also presented to him, and the hadith or the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also was presented to him, and he said this statement: at the beginning of the seventh week of growth, around the 42nd day, the cardiologous osseous silicon that gives the fetus its special human shape forms. Its trunk begins to straighten, and a round head forms for it. The eyes move around forward to take their place in the face, thus revealing the human shape for the fetus. The same things happen to the nose that takes the human shape. Also, Professor Persaud stated this. The way it was explained to me is that Muhammad was a very ordinary man. He could not read, did not know how to write. In fact, he was an illiterate, and we are talking about actually about 1400 years ago. you have someone illiterate making a profound pronouncements and statements, and that are amazingly accurate about scientific nature. And I personally cannot see how this could be a mere chance. There are too many accuracies, and like Dr. Moore, I have no difficulty in my mind that this is a divine inspiration or revelation. Subhanallah, glory be to Allah. These scientists deliver these witnesses for the people around the world that the Quran is coming from the divine source, is coming from the one who created the whole universe. He is Allah. Okay. Now the next step, it is, and then فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما, and then we made out of that مضغة, bones, and clothed the bones with flesh. Okay. These verses tell that bones develop first, then flesh. The stage of bones and flesh in modern science. Now, embryologists at the beginning thought that bones and flesh are formed at the same time. Okay, then some people took the chance to belie the Quran, because the Quran is described that first of all bones develop and then flesh. And they say, oh, okay, science discovered that both of them developed at the same time, but after that, the recent embryology proved that the verses of the Quran are correct. The verses of the Quran are good in describing what? The formation of bones and then the flesh. Okay, what happens in the stage of flesh? Between the end of 7th week and the end of 7th week and the end of 8th week, the bones of the embryo are clothed with muscles and flesh to give more distinguished human shape. Okay. The embryo at this stage start to move after the completion of muscle and flesh formation, start to move, okay, inside the uterus, and at the end of the 8th week, the embryonic stage ends, and we have a new stage. It's called the fetus stage. The fetus stage, which is called the stage of Nasha, that starts after the end of the 8th week. So, okay, this is the last stage, which is ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر, and we developed out of it another creation. And these verses tell us about the last stage of human development. As I told you, it is the Nasha stage. It starting from the 9th week until the end of pregnancy. At the end of pregnancy, it is about 38 weeks for the human development to come to the end, and then after that, the delivery. It is as the Quran stated and as the science stated also. There are another scientist who gave also a good witness about this. He's a professor, coordinator of medical embryology in the Department of Cell Biology, School of Medicine, Georgetown University of Washington, D.C., USA. He said this, in a relatively few Quranic verses, is contained a rather comprehensive description of human development from the time of commingling of the gamete through the organogenesis. No such distinguished and complete record of human development such as classification, terminology, and description existed previously. It must, if not all instances, this description, and to date, by many centuries, the recording of the various stages of human embryonic and fetal development recorded in the traditional scientific literature. And then he was wondering about this information coming from the 7th century at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the last thing in my lecture is the Quran describes the condition of human creation, the condition of human creation. The Most High said, يخلقكم في بطون أمهاتكم خلقا من بعد خلق في ظلمات ثلاث. The corresponding meaning of this verse is, He creates you in the wombs of your mothers in stages, one after another, in 3 veils of darkness. This is from the chapter, from the Quran, chapter 39, verse 6. So the Quran tells us about the condition of human embryo development. Okay, it is in what? In first of all, it is inside of 3 veils, and 3 veils of darkness, and developed, and he's developed stage by stage, meaning he's developing in stages. So, of course, the modern science tells us about these stages and about the veils of darkness. Okay, what are the stages? As the modern science said, the first stage is what? The pre-embryonic phase during the first 2.5 weeks. And then the second is the embryonic phase up to the end of 8th week. And the third is the fetal phase from the 8th week up to birth. And also, the modern embryology confirms that the human development of the human development is taken in a place in 3 dark regions. What are the dark regions? As the Quran states, the darkness of womb, the mother, the darkness of the placenta, and the darkness of the first one is the darkness of the abdomen, then the darkness of the womb, then the darkness of the placenta. So 3 darkness: the abdomen of the mother, the womb of the mother, and the placenta. Also, science tells us that every layer of these also have 3 layers. Okay, and this is another witness from science. It's professor and chairman of Department of Anatomy and Developmental Biology. His name is Marshall Johnson, and this is his statement about the verses of the Quran. He said, in summary, the Quran describes not only the development of external form, but emphasizes also the internal stages, the stages inside the embryo of its creation, development, and emphasizing major events recognized by contemporary science. Okay, and also he said, as scientist, I can only deal with things which I can specifically see. I can understand embryology and development biology. I can understand the words that are translated to me from the Quran, as I gave the example before. If I were to transpose myself into that era, knowing what I do today and describing things, I could not describe the things that were described. Also, he said, I see no evidence to refute the concept that this individual, Muhammad, peace be upon him, had to be developing this information from some place, not from his mind. So I see nothing here in conflict with the concept that divine intervention was involved in what he was able to write. That means the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Okay, finally, conclusions, final conclusion. The Quran verses describe the human development stage by stage. Okay, stage by stage, from the beginning until the end, without any single mistake, as the science tells us. As the science tells us. Okay? Also, not only that, also there are a lot of chemical interactions during these stages taking place in there to form the different human parts. The head, the hands, the legs, the heart, the kidney, the stomach, the liver, all these parts are developed inside the what? Inside the embryo. And we are talking about a lot of what? A lot of chemical interactions, a lot of hormones there, a lot of processing there. Okay? Who made this possible? Who made this possible? The one who creates. The one who creates. And he knows the single detail in there. And he knows what is going in there. Therefore, the only conclusion that we can reach, that the Creator is what? Is knowledgeable. He is the all-knower, and who knows every single detail inside the uterus. And second, he is the all-wise, because he created human in a precise manner inside the uterus. And also, he must be one. He must be one, because the Creator is one. The rest are creations. The rest are creations. However, the Creator is only one. This is the first conclusion. The second conclusion, since the Quran described a lot of scientific facts, not only to human beings, but also to other creations. Okay, in the universe, animals, plants, and all creations, and describing them there and presenting scientific facts that the modern science came to be a witness for such true description in the Quran. What does that tell us? It tells us that the Quran must be the word of Allah. He is the one who creates, and he is the one who revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, these verses talking about the creation in general. And the third conclusion, a man was in Mecca, lived 1400 years ago in Mecca, in the middle of the desert, without any scientific training, without any education, without any sophisticated instruments, without any high technology. As a matter of fact, he was illiterate. He could not write, could not read. Do you think that a man in this description, in this condition, could bring these facts 14 centuries ago from his mind? Absolutely not. Then the only thing that we reach the conclusion that he must be the true messenger of Allah, who received the revelation from Allah and convey it to us to be fresh as it was revealed until the day of judgment. At the end, I thank you, all of you, for your attendance and for your patience with me. وجزاكم الله خيرا.